All right, good evening, everyone. This is the Board of Adjustments has been duly posted for meeting at 6:30 p.m. on November 8th, 2021 in the Kyle City Hall. We'll call the meeting to order and roll call of the board, please.
Lancaster,
Present.
Rodriguez,
Present.
Terry,
Present.
Vasquez,
Here.
Palacios. Here.
Okay, we have a quorum established, and we will now open at 6:31 the citizen comment period. Anyone signed up for public comments would be allowed to make an address at this time. Debbie, do we have any public comments registered? Okay. Just wait 1 minute. Okay, since no citizens have registered or selected for public comment, we will close the citizen comment period at 6:32. And next item on the agenda is minutes of the previous meeting. Did all of the members have a chance to review the minutes for the last meeting, which was May 4th, 2020?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we'll entertain a motion on the minutes for the May 4th, 2020 meeting. We'll need a motion to approve in a second.
Motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes of the May 4th, 2020 meetings, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous consent. All right, we'll move on to section 2, consider an action. Item number 1 is consider request by Noel and Maria Campos, 1417 and 1425 Bunton Creek Road for a variance to lot width and side setbacks for section 53-3, chart 1, and variance to lot depth exceeding a 5-to-1 ratio in section 41-146, lot C, side lot lines of the City of Kyle, Code of Ordinances, BOA 21-0005.
There is a public hearing with it, so if we can open that up,
Okay.
that way we can get people up if they want to talk about it. Thank you.
All right, it is 6:34. We'll open a public hearing on this agenda item. Does anyone wish to make a comment on this? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, 6:35, and we'll receive the city's report.
All right. One second. All right, Will Atkinson for the record, city planner for the city of Kyle. Before you, we have a variance request for 1417 and 1425 Bunton Creek Road relating to side lot lines and the minimum lot width and also for the section, chapter 41, where it talks about lot depth. This gentleman owns 2 properties that had houses on them before they were annexed into the city of Kyle. His septic tank is failing, and he is zoned agriculture right now, and the minimum side setbacks are 25 feet on each side, and the minimum lot width is at least 130 feet, or excuse me, 150 feet. And he doesn't have any of those. There's no more room for him to widen his properties, to adjust for it. He's literally constrained by it. He wants to tie into the city's wastewater system, which there is wastewater at the front of the properties. And to do that, he has to have a platted lot, which he can't do until he receives his variances. And so staff fully supports it, and we ask that y'all vote in an affirmative manner as well. Do y'all have any questions for me?
No.
And just to be clear, the discrepancies on the property were because the city annexed the property and the buildings on the property were in place prior to the annexation of the properties?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They are grandfathered from they wouldn't be allowed to be built in that manner today, but they are already there, and so the gentleman does have a hardship, in our opinion.
Okay. Any other questions? Is the petitioner present and would like to address the commission on this? Okay, at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept?
I have to actually make a motion to approve the variances as required, as listed.
Motion to approve the variance as requested?
Okay, motion's been made to approve the variance as requested. Do we have a second?
May second.
Motion's made and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the variances?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion to approve, 5-0. The next item on the agenda will be consider a request by Eva Mata of MI Homes of Austin, 330 Eagle Ford Drive, for a variance to side setback line per Exhibit D, Note 1 of the Blanco River Ranch De-Annexation and Development Agreement, BOA 21-006. We have a public hearing on this item as well. The public hearing will open at 6:38. Does anyone wish to address regarding this item? We'll close the public hearing at 6:39 and take the city's report.
All right. Once again, Will Atkinson for the record, city planner. In Six Creeks, it's technically in the county, but we have a development agreement with them, so we can enforce certain items on it. This house is on a 50-foot wide lot. It was approved in a compliant manner when it was reviewed. Since then, they adjusted some minor lot boundaries, and they did not include the house in the process when they did that. So staff was not aware that the house is going to be too close to the side lot line when the replat was done. And such, the minimum side setback is 5 feet, and they are at 4.6 feet to the side property line. The house is done for all intents and purposes. They are just waiting on the variance so they can sell the house to the people who have already bought it officially. Okay. From a hardship perspective, I know a lot of times we don't consider a cost as a major deal, but the weight that the family is waiting on to move in, the fact that the house is built already, it's a stick-built on-site house, the foundation is there, all the work that's gone into it, we believe that they absolutely have a hardship because you can't move the house. So,
And this occurred as a result of a replatting that took place after the initial
Yes, sir.
survey
And-
was done?
Yes, sir. And the surveyor reached out to us as well, and he's like, "Oh, I made a mistake. We didn't catch it, and we would have let you know if we had realized this was going to be an issue." But these things happen occasionally, and this is why we're bringing it to the Board of Adjustment, because staff doesn't have the authority to administratively approve stuff like this. So,
Okay, is there any individual from Eva Mata MI Homes of Austin that wanted to address regarding this issue? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
I have a question.
Okay,
On the initial inspection, there's initial inspection on the foundation, right?
yes, sir.
And so so that was done before all this replatting occurred?
Yes. So a majority of the house was already constructed. The forms are up. The foundation was poured.
Oh, okay.
They came in and replatted it. There was some, I don't remember the reason, to be honest, why it was replatted, but it made sense at the time when they did it. And so we went ahead and went through with replatting. Everything seemed all above board, and we found out about a month ago, right as they were trying to close on the property, that there's a side setback issue. So.
Okay. Thanks.
any other questions?
I have a question. Can you explain the purpose of the 5-foot easement? Isn't that to prevent from the fire to jump from one house to the other?
Yes, so and I'll be honest, I'll make this statement. I am not a building official, so I'm going to tell you to the best of my ability, all right? Typically, there is a 10-foot gap, minimum distance between homes generally. So with the property line going down the middle of that 10 feet, so 5 feet for each side, for minimum fire protection, well, without having to improve the residences on each side. That gives you an adequate break between the houses from a fire perspective, so the fire department can get there in time and put out the fire. In this case, the house was not built with extra, I'm going to make an assumption that the house was not built with extra fire protection because the intent the entire time was a 10-foot gap total, the minimum. So in this case, it was built just a little bit too close, and it was caught at the end.
So there is a residence on either side. There's already a house on both sides.
There are platted lots, yes, sir. As if there's residences being built at this time on each side, I don't know that specific answer, but eventually, if they aren't there, they will be. That can be something that we can take a look into and have further discussions with the builder after the fact, after tonight, and just to make sure that they can do what they can to account for that. But there is a chance they may not be able to if there's a house on the other side of this property line already constructed.
Yeah, I believe most of those properties are already pre-platted at 50 feet, which is one of the reasons, I think, for the original replatting. This was a 50.8 foot lot, and they reduced the size of it, I guess, to make allowances for one of the roadways.
And so they've already closed on this home, or they're trying to sell? I'm sorry, I was confused.
From the discussions that we've had via email with them, they were about to close, and this was caught at the very end
Caught
when
at
they were
the
trying
end.
to do so.
Between them and the builder and the title company then?
Yes,
Right,
ma'am.
it was at the final survey.
Right, yeah, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, entertain a motion for variance. A motion has to be published first.
Motion for the variance?
Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Not in favor. Aye.
And opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay. The motion will pass, vote of 4-1. Next item on the agenda is to consider request by David Sheedy, 400 South Burleson, for a variance to construct buildings across an existing platted lot line, BOA 21-007. Open a public hearing. Is anyone wishing to speak on this issue? No comments on a public hearing. We'll close the public hearing at 6:45 and entertain the city's.
All right, once again, Will Atkinson for the record, city planner. This is a request from the property owner of 400 South Burleson, Mr. David Sheedy, wanting to have a variance request to be allowed to build across his property line, 400 South Burleson. The section that it specifically calls out as an extension from is section 5333C1, where it talks about going into setbacks, and by default, where there's a property line going through the middle of his property, it also, by extension, follows under that. His property is zoned R-1-A, which is single family attached. It's the only residence around here that has that zoning district, the only lot. So by default, he's gonna have a detached product. However, for the zoning district, he can build a single family house, all right? And around that whole area, that's pretty typical. That's most of the residential around there, the zoning of various forms, but single family. Earlier this year, through discussions early on with him, we realized that the property that he owns does not follow the platted property line, and subsequently, neither does 402 or 404 South Burleson. Decades in the past, it was broken up by a handshake or by deed or what have you, and they didn't follow the property lines when they sold it, or the platted lot line, excuse me. And at that time, there probably wasn't staff to even be able to enforce it. That's how they did things way back in the day in Kyle, right or wrong, in this case, wrong. He owns the property. He wants to build a house like he's able to per the zoning district, and he needs to be able to be granted permission to cut across the property line just to build his house. Or maybe an accessory structure like a shed or a greenhouse, if you will. And we believe that he should be entitled to do that. On the screen, the first exhibit there, those are the platted lot lines, lots 1 and 2, and they run north and south. The next one you can see on there, the outline in red is the platted lots. The green boundary is Mr. Sheedy's, and in 402 and 404, they do the same thing running south there. So you can see if the property line cuts through there. In the future, if the other two property owners want to do the same thing, they'll come to the Board of Adjustment and request a variance. But in this specific case, this is confined to these properties. So it won't. This isn't something that it'll be every person can come in and ask for. So to be able to use this property, we believe he fully has a hardship. We don't have a problem with him requesting the variance, as he just wants to build a house on a property that he has the zoning for. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Well, my first question, I think, is, was there an attempt made to coordinate with the 3 property owners that the lot, that area be replatted to conform to the property boundaries?
Yes. So early on, we were thinking maybe they could receive a platting exception from City Council, but then it came up that we needed all 3 property owners to sign on to that. And one of them just didn't respond. And we don't have the authority to require all 3 to do it, but that would be the proper way to do it, since they each have a part of the same lots, right? And then we tried to get the replatting going, same issue. One of the property owners didn't respond. The one that actually has a house in the middle, they just didn't really respond much, and we couldn't get them to come to the table. So this is where we're at now. We've exhausted our other options, or we attempted to, and so here we are.
And do the tax rolls reflect the titled property boundaries?
Yes, if you
Or
look at
or are they being taxed for a partial portion of each of the platted lots?
yes. So if you look at Hayes CAD on the map, it shows it per the ownership boundaries, which is the east-west for 400, 402, and 404. But if you pull up the description on it, it says portion of Lot 1 and Lot 2 of Block 19. So,
Any other questions?
The middle structure, does it cross the red line? The existing structure on the middle section?
I don't know that for a fact, but just as a heads up, while it's tangentially related to this project, to Mr. Sheedy's request, what we are specifically referencing tonight is going to be 400 South Burleson, which is the hard corner, the one outlined in green. But yes, if as a side note, if the property at 402 or 404 will want to do the same thing for whatever reason, the same situation in the future, then they have to come be granted a variance.
What I read in the notes was that there had previously been at least one structure on the 400 unit, and
Yes,
that
sir.
also crossed that red line, the previous structures?
I believe so, yes. But there's no structures on site right now.
On 404 either?
Not at 404 or 400.
And it's interesting that the person won't respond to the multiple requests to redraw the lines. I'm just hesitant to accept that silence as like consent.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, how were they attempted to be contacted?
We got their contact information from the adjacent property owners. They responded a little bit. I'll say that at the beginning. But subsequently, when staff tried to reach out furthermore to try to continue the process of trying to get everybody on the table, it fell silent. From what Mr. Sheedy has also told us, he's kind of been in the same boat from trying to get them to have a conversation. So while I don't have proof on his end, they've been extremely difficult to get a hold of, so.
My other question, did we make any attempt to ask the owners of 404 to file a variance request at the same time and coordinate it with the 400 lot?
I had a discussion with the property owners for 404, wanting to hold back just for a little bit to see the outcome of this meeting, because it does cost money to ask for a variance. You have to pay for the public hearing notification, the sign that goes on site, and the processing fee for the application. And while it's not super expensive, it is not cheap either. So, and this should not go into how you make your decision tonight by any means, but depending on how tonight goes, we might be asking them to move forward with the same request for their property.
And are we allowed to know, are any of the current owners related to the prior owners when it was platted correctly? In other words, do they sell this off, the two properties into 3 sections, and then set themselves up in the middle so the other 2 can be developed?
Say that one more time.
The prior are any of the current owners related to the prior owners when the property was platted correctly?
The property was platted, I believe, either in the late 1880s or early 1900s, offhand. So I doubt it, if they're related. But we did not take that into account. We're just looking at it from specifically how the property is laid out and the issue at hand, so.
Yeah, I think the original plating goes back to conceptual design that was in the original founding of the city and how houses would be oriented on that property.
Yep.
So sometime since then, prior to, the zoning and ordinance codes that we currently operate under, that lot was basically turned to orient towards South Burleson Street, which is actually one of the major thoroughfares
Yes, sir.
in the city at the time. We have any other questions or comments regarding? I entertain a motion on item 3.
A motion. Motion to approve?
Okay, motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Matthew, did you?
Nay.
Okay. Motion will pass, vote of 4-1. That concludes the items on the agenda for this evening. Section 3 is to adjourn the meeting. Meeting will adjourn at 6:55 PM. Thank you to the new members. Appreciate y'all being here.
Yes, welcome.